How's it going, everybody? I decided to take a break from the world of politics. I know. And don't get me wrong, politics is a real moneymaker, believe it or not. But I decided let's I haven't really checked out finance YouTube in a while. And I want to see what people are saying about dividends and ETFs, those sorts of things. And I decided it'd be kind of cool. Give me a few moments. Getting a couple things set up for you guys real quick here. Make sure you guys tap the subscribe button, though. The more subscribers we get, the better. So we're going to check out a little bit of finance YouTube and see what sort of degeneracy is going on. Oh, Scott Galloway pisses me off, dude. That guy was part of White Dudes for Harris. What a sicko. What a nasty man. Hey, Feline Gaming, what up, dude? So we're taking a little bit of a break from politics just for this particular stream. And we decided to break away and we're going to react to the world of finance YouTube. Now, finance YouTube, I got to admit, is 80% penny stock degenerates and crypto shills. 80% of it is not good financial information. In fact, 80% of finance YouTube is absolute horse shit. And 20% of it's good, though. Surprisingly, 20% of the stuff that you see on YouTube is actually good when it comes to finance. Feline Gaming, that's all right, man. No, by the way, even if you don't have any money, I mean, if you have to work for your money, investing is always an option, even for people who work minimum wage, shockingly. Now, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're working minimum wage, whatever that may be per state, and you're not able to keep up, sometimes it's okay to ask for government assistance and things like that, because sometimes you have no other choice, right? Now, I will say this, though. If you want to get ahead, look, investing is a good thing. Investing is a good practice. So even the act of having a brokerage account like a Charles Schwab, Webull, Moomoo, I don't like Moomoo, Public, Robinhood and Schwab are my two main brokerages at this point. Everything else is kind of moot point. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of good brokerages. So. Yep. But yeah, no, Robinhood and Schwab are my favorite, personally. Let's see. Now, the side of finance YouTube that kind of pisses me off is like Caleb Hammer. Here's the thing. Caleb Hammer is basically millennial Dave Ramsey in a certain sense, and I'll tell you why he is millennial Dave Ramsey. One, first off, he's directly interviewing millennials who are dead ass broke, who are like hundreds of $1,000s in stupid debt. We're talking about like credit card debt, stuff like that. But the thing is, for me, I see this. I see how bad millennials are with money, and it kind of makes me sad. I'm like, damn, dude. Why do millennials suck so much with money? Like, I still don't get it. Like, I try to understand it. Believe you me, I try to understand why millennials are so shitty with money. But I don't know, man. Luckily, I was always kind of... luckily I was always pretty fiscally responsible. I never bought anything for show. I was more interested in learning things than buying things, I guess you could say. And because I was more interested in learning and producing, I was never really interested in consuming. You know what I mean? Yeah, Caleb Hammer is a grifter, and I think he is a little gee. He's gee. And that's okay if he is. I just wish he would come out of the closet. But it's sad that when you type in finance on YouTube, Caleb Hammer seems to come up quite a bit. But here's something. I mean, this might be helpful. Like, for example, explaining basic financial concepts that you should understand.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back.
Oh, I don't want to hear about you. You're a grifter, dude. I could just tell by the looks of you, man. You look like a grifter.
You just had a hard month at work, slaving away flipping burgers at your local McDonald's. You're in bed when you get an email from them. It says you've been paid $2,000, but your bank account only gets $1,456. You scroll down the stub. Federal income tax, state tax, Social Security.
Oh, yeah. Dude, Social Security, by the way, is the biggest scam in the world. I just want to give you guys a heads up. I think that Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme ever constructed. And when I say that, I mean what I'm saying. I mean exactly what I'm saying. Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. If people just took finances, if people took their finances into their own hands and just learned basic investing, we would not need Social Security. You know what I mean? Feline Gaiman says, I just want to leave this existence. That's why I don't plan for the future. Why do you want to leave this existence, man? I mean, I know life can be a little bit difficult, quite a bit difficult sometimes, but sometimes you got to embrace the struggle. I know that's really tough to hear, but yeah, and look, Social Security really is meant for old people who never invested. That's the way I look at it. Social Security is really meant for old people who were bad with money in their youth and never really planned for anything. And that's the truth. It really is the truth. I mean, I'm not going to candy coat this. See, that's another thing. I think by the way, Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, but a pension is also a Ponzi scheme in my opinion. I do not trust pensions. I would rather trust my brokerage accounts because anytime I'm buying stocks through a brokerage account, those are mine. I actually own those stocks. When they're in my brokerage account, the company that owns the brokerage itself, like Schwab, you know what Schwab can't do? Schwab cannot take my shares and lend them out. Once those shares are in my brokerage account, they're mine. I own them. I'm an owner in those, straight up. They're mine. And the point I'm trying to make is when you put cash into a checking account, you know what they're doing with that cash? They're putting it into assets. And then they're actually making money off of the money that you put in your checking account. So at any time, I think it's safer to have all your wealth accumulated in a brokerage account. That's that's not financial advice. It's just personal opinion, just for educational entertainment purposes only. Talk to a financial advisor. But that's my belief. All right, that's my belief on it. Hey, Bill Mitchell, by the way, Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. Social Security is one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in the world, dude. If you don't believe me, man, dude, the fact of the matter is, it's basically the young supplementing the poor. No, sorry. It's the young supplementing the poor old people. It's old people who basically deliberately were poor. So if you're an old person and Social Security is your only reliable source of income at your old retirement age, you were actually stupid. And I'm saying this with love, by the way, but you were dumb with your money when you were young. That's all there is to it. And there's nothing wrong with admitting it. You're probably not a dumb person overall. You're probably a smart old person. But the problem is you were stupid financially. And I don't understand why so many people are financially illiterate. You know, like if you're going to go to work and work for cash, don't you think you should understand why cash is not valuable and why assets are everything? When I started working for cash, like when I worked at JCPenney, when I worked at FCR, which got absorbed by T-Tech, you know what I did? Do you know what I actually did? I decided to research, why the hell do I work for cash? And the more I looked into it, I started to realize, holy shit, cash is worthless because it's not backed by gold. And the moment I realized that cash was worthless, I started to realize, shit, I need to preserve my wealth. And the best way to preserve your wealth, honestly, is stocks. Stocks are honestly the easiest asset to manage. I honestly, like, if I had real estate, I would obviously cherish it. Like, if I had a home, obviously I would cherish it, but it would not be my only asset. But here's the deal. Home ownership is now a dead dream, in my opinion. I think home ownership it used to make sense in the 90s and the 2000s, but home ownership in today's era, in today's world, it doesn't make a lick of sense. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys, is that home ownership today makes zero sense overall. The truth, this is the truth, by the way. Social Security is for old people who were bad with their money. It's for old people who never even invested a dime into the stock market because they thought their home was an asset, and it turns out they live in their home. And then when they sell their home, by the way, the irony is this: when they sell their home, they actually have to downgrade because they're selling the home in the exact same market, in the same upswing. So, like, if you got your home let's just theoretically say you got your home in the late 90s and it happened to be $100,000, right? And then maybe it goes up to, I don't know, $500,000. If you sell your home in today's market, you're basically going to be buying another home in the same market. So what the fuck is the point? So what I would do if I had a home that I had purchased in the late 90s and I decided to sell it today, like right now, I would take the profits that I got from that, and I would just rent the rest of my life. That's what I would do. But when I'm renting, I would also take the money that I accumulated in profit from the sale of my home, and I would actually invest that into a diversified portfolio in a brokerage account, whether the brokerage account is Schwab or Robinhood, and then I would live off the dividends and then probably just work part-time because the dividends could pay for the rent, straight up. And then the portfolio can appreciate because here's the thing, productive assets, especially when you have an index of productive assets, tend to grow faster because they're productive and they're actual, like, working real companies that grow. They tend to outpace the price gains of homes, is what I'm trying to say. No, what I'm trying to say is this. If you paid into Social Security and you're of the age to accept it, sure, accept it, please. You should absolutely accept Social Security, but if Social Security is your primary source of income, that is a huge problem, and you made bad decisions in your life, is all I'm trying to say. People don't realize what real money is, and real money is assets. Real money is stocks, gold, and silver. Real money is real estate, stocks, gold, and silver. Now, I'm not a big fan of real estate as a whole. Like, when I say, here's the thing. I'm okay with real estate, but I'm not okay with people having a single family home and saying that's their only asset. I think that is mentally ill, and you don't understand finance if your home is your only asset. That's all I'm trying to say. I mean, what I'm saying is not a difficult concept. I hope it's not a difficult concept for people to grasp. Because I think in your heart of hearts, you know what I'm saying makes sense, right? And also, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and please make sure that you tap the like button. The more likes we get, the better. The more likes we get, it pushes it out. It pushes this show out to the algorithm a little bit further. Okay, let's keep watching this.
Medicare. This is the modern ritual of giving away a chunk of your money to invisible forces, and they expect you to say thank you. Here's the deal. Taxes are the cost of civilization. You pay, the government builds roads, funds schools.
For the most part, here's the thing. Some of your tax money does go to this stuff, but not a lot of it. In fact, if anything, we live in the era of taxation without representation. We're not. In fact, I'll tell you what. We are being represented, but we're being represented by crooks. And I think that there's so much fraud that a lot of our tax dollars are just going to fraudulent shit. So I don't think a lot of our I think we're honestly overtaxed, and we need to be taxed less. And then also, while we're being taxed less, make sure that the tax money's actually going to things like new roads, better schools, better whatever.
Sure, your favorite taco truck isn't infested with rats and sends billion-dollar missiles to places you've never been. But
here's the thing. One of the reasons why people don't want to pay taxes anymore is because they feel like a lot of their money is going to bullshit. And it's not just a feeling anymore, it's kind of a fact. Is what I'm trying to say. And I do think that there needs to be more government oversight. When I say government oversight, I mean like there needs to be more oversight committees looking for obvious fraud. Like there needs to be receipts. If we're going to be funding fake daycares, for example, there needs to be receipts that they're actually a real daycare. You know what I mean? Let's keep going.
Different types of taxes. Income tax, which hits the money you make. Sales tax, which hits the money you spend.
You guys, we are trying to get to 100 likes on this stream, so make sure that you tap the like button. The more people who tap the like button, the more this stream gets pushed out to the algorithm. So we're trying to get to 100 likes in the next 10 minutes, so don't forget to tap the like button, okay?
Capital gains tax, which hits the money your investments made while you were asleep. The government takes a little bit of every dollar. Nearly everyone also pays Social Security tax and Medicare tax. Basically, Social Security tax is like the government forcing you to save for your retirement. They force you to save money now, and you get it paid back to you over time when you retire. Medicare, however, is a health insurance tax that goes to supporting older people or people with serious health.
Here's the thing, though. When you're paying Medicare tax and when you're paying Social Security, here's what you're doing. It's the young funding the old. Social Security is a form of young people funding old people. And another thing is, I do think that Social Security is a scam. I'm also starting to believe that Medicare might be a little bit of a scam too. That's my belief. Pay your taxes. Still pay your taxes. I'm just saying that there's just a lot of Ponzi elements to both of these, in my opinion. Pure opinion, not fact. Opinion. Just want to make that clear, everybody. Context matters.
Health issues. Now comes filing your taxes. Oh boy, the government knows how much you owe, but it makes you guess. How cool. If you're right, no worries. But if you're wrong, you're cooked.
That is kind of messed up because it's like I don't know, if you're trying to pay the right amount in good faith. I mean, obviously, this is why I use TurboTax Premium, because at least TurboTax Premium, my taxes are not that complicated. My only taxation is like 1099 shit, like my brokerage accounts and shit like that. That's about the extent of it.
When it comes to actually paying taxes, some people pay every few months, some people pay yearly, and then there's those people that don't pay at all and end up in documentaries. I get that taxes are annoying, but it's not all bad. Countries with higher tax rates generally have a higher quality of life all round.
That's not necessarily true. I'll give you an example. Look at the state of California. The state of California has a very high tax rate, but they still have an excessive homeless problem, and people are living paycheck to paycheck. And most people can't even afford to live in California. So the idea that higher taxes means higher prosperous life is actually a false concept. And it really sickens me that people fall for this shit. I will admit, see, this is one of the reasons why I tell you, as much as I think finance YouTube is okay. I think finance YouTube, 20% of it's okay. 80% of it is like Meat Spin Kevin or Andre Deek or Graham Stevens or Jeremy LeBabe, right? All those freaking Ponzi artists who suck, who are not honest at all and disingenuous. Let's keep going. Also, please make sure you tap the like button, you guys. The more likes we get, the better. We're trying to get to 100 likes on this video. So if you guys can, tap the like button. In fact, we got 4 likes currently, but you tapping the like button does help us grow on the algorithm. It helps push the channel out to more eyeballs. So the more people who can see the show, the more people who could potentially subscribe. The bigger we get, the better we get, is what I'm trying to tell you. So don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to tap the like button.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Sam here again.
I don't want to see your face. I'm not buying YouTube Premium either.
You walk into a bank, hand the cashier your money, they count it, smile, and tell you it will be added to your account. You walk out and think, great, now it's sitting in a vault somewhere, being guarded by a dragon. But in reality, that money's already gone.
Yep. What they're doing, what the bank does, and this is what I was talking about earlier, the bank actually doesn't really store your money. It shows you how much money you have in your account, but in all reality, if everybody was to withdraw at the same time from their checking account, the bank couldn't actually give them all the money. You want to know why? It's because most of that money in your checking account is actually either being lent out, or it's either being put into some sort of assets. Because the bank, here's the thing, the bank doesn't do what the bank tells you to do with your money is not what the bank actually does with your money, is what I'm trying to say.
Most people think of banks like a big safe with only one job, guarding people's money. But in reality...
Tristan Allen, one of the reasons I don't want to get an ad blocker is I feel like it would actually be a negative effect on my account. So I'm afraid that YouTube would punish me for using an ad blocker. And here's why I say this. Because, my channel's gotten really big, and I do rely on YouTube overall. So I don't want to necessarily shit where I guess the old saying, shit where you work sort of thing. So I don't necessarily want to use an ad blocker because that also may, you know what I mean? So I don't want to use an ad blocker on my YouTube channel because I really do want to keep my YouTube channel intact. I don't want there to be restrictions. So I do try to play by the rule book as much as I can on this channel. That's really one of the goals. But let's keep watching this video. This stuff is really interesting, by the way. I have a good time watching this.
They are just a middleman or a matchmaker.
There is something I got to look up, though.
For financial transaction. When you deposited that $1,000, the bank took $900 of it and gave it to someone who wants to buy a jet ski. That system is called fractional reserve banking, which basically relies on the idea that they only...
Actually, I did not know it was called fractional reserve banking, but exactly, they're lending out the money. Just like I said, they're either lending out the money or putting it into real assets, one or the other.
Actually need to keep a fraction of the money on hand because not everyone is going to show up at the same time asking to withdraw 100% of their account.
They could, though. That's the thing that people don't realize, is this can happen where everybody panics. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. Let's say the stock market crashed 40%, 30% in a day. I don't know. But let's say like the S&P 500 crashed very rapidly and everybody panicked at the same time thinking that they need to withdraw money from their bank, right? Yeah. So, yeah, exactly, Tristan Allen. So I like to, when it comes to YouTube, I like to play it safe. Am I annoyed by the ads? Absolutely. But the cool thing is it only takes one click to hit the skip ad button. That's all it takes, is just one click. So overall, I don't want to pay. I did make a bit. I will say I made a little bit of a promise to you guys that if this channel ever gets to 100,000 subscribers, I repeat, if this channel ever gets to 100, actually it's a matter of if, when this channel gets to 100,000 subscribers, I will actually make the commitment to get YouTube Premium. Okay. 100,000 subscribers and I will get YouTube Premium. So don't forget to subscribe it does help the channel grow in more ways than one. Also, you guys, don't forget to tap the like button, because the more people who like the stream, the better. We're trying to see how many people we can get to like the stream. And we're trying to get to 100 likes in the span of like 10 minutes. I think it's a little unreal. Actually, how about this? We're trying to get to 100 likes on this stream. So if you could tap the like button, it would really help us immensely. So tapping the like button allows us to get pushed out to the algorithm. So the simple act of liking the video actually goes a long way. So I appreciate any efforts you guys can make to help me out, to help a brother out, okay? Give me just a few moments, though. There's something I want to do. But yeah, it's one of the reasons I don't use an ad blocker is pretty simple, is because I am afraid of what YouTube would try to do to my channel if I did. So, like I said, I like to play it very safe, admittedly. Give me one moment, though, you guys. I'm pulling up something real quick. It's because I am if I did. So, like I said, I like to play it very safe, admittedly. But yeah, no, playing it safe, I think, is the best way to do it sometimes. I don't always like to play it safe, but sometimes you gotta. In today's era, you gotta play it a little bit safe, and I think it's stupid to... I think it's a little bit dumb to not play it safe, you know what I mean? Because sometimes I think I don't know. I try not to overestimate my abilities, I guess you could say. But yeah, I don't want to I don't really necessarily want to crap where I work, I guess. Like I said, it's the old saying goes, you don't necessarily want to crap where you work. Give me just a few seconds, you guys. I'm trying to sort a few things out here. One moment. Okay, so I set myself a little gift goal, 50 gifts, and I'll sing a love song to all you guys. Hopefully you guys give me sugar daddy level gifts, I hope. You guys are my sugar bronies, man. My sugar bronies. Thank you guys for subscribing, though. I really appreciate it. Let's keep watching the video, and we'll keep going.
That is, unless it's 2008, of course, when people lined up to withdraw the entirety of their account,
Yep.
which caused the entire system to crumble. Banks
Just
make
like-
money by lending your money.
Exactly, just like I said. During a financial crash of any kind, people panic, and then they start going to their bank to withdraw everything. Which I get it. I totally get it. Which, one of the reasons, here's the thing. One of the reasons I invest so much is because, one of the reasons I put money in big banks is because the big banks, like, for example, like U.S. Bank and Bank of America are less likely to fail. If I put any money into a credit union, I don't like putting any money into a credit union. I will take a loan. I'll take a loan from a credit union, absolutely. But I refuse to actually put money into a credit union because they're too small, and honestly, they're too likely to either get bought out and then their system gets fucked and overcomplicated. So I actually choose to put my money into established bank systems. U.S. Bank, Bank of America. I don't even bother. I will take a loan from a credit union because they usually have really good interest rates, but I refuse to put money into a credit union. That's my philosophy. You know what I mean? I hope what I said makes sense. I gotta do what I gotta do, you guys, is what I'm trying to get at. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. What you gonna do when they come? You gotta believe. What you gonna do when they come? Gotta redeem.
at a higher interest rate than they are giving you. That's really it. You're the supply of money, and the person borrowing is the demand. The banks entice you to deposit your money because of a few reasons. It's much easier and more convenient to spend on a card or transfer than carrying around cash all the time. They are literally paying you to hold your money with them in the form of interest. It is much safer to keep your money in a bank than in a shoebox in your room. In the US, most banks...
And that is true, by the way. Banks are insured by the FDIC, which is great. So yeah, I would rather, and here's the thing, I would rather keep dollars in my checking account than keep dollars in a shoebox or under my bed. I think keeping your money at home, unless you have a very big vault. I'll give you an example. If I had a very big vault that I knew could not be cracked, sure, I would keep gold and silver and dollars in there. Why not? But instead, it's honestly just easier to have a well-established bank that you know has good financials, and just keep your money in the checking account in there, and just keep a lot of it in there. And by the way, I also keep a lot of money, a lot of dollars in my brokerage accounts because, to be honest, I prefer keeping my dollars in my brokerage accounts. I think that's the smartest thing I can do. Just because, like, if my checking account ever did fail on me for whatever reason, you know, I can just use my Robinhood credit card, for example, and then just use whatever funds I have in my brokerage account to pay off my credit card whenever I need to use it. So I think being reliant on one single financial institution is a bad idea. And also, one of the reasons I keep my credit cards on standby is you never know. I mean, I might need to use them. I don't like the interest rates on credit cards, but I mean, if everything went to calamity, I'm basically just going to the dollar store and that's it. Darth Slayer says Garza would keep crumbs in his safe. There is some validity to that statement. I don't want to admit that you're right, but by golly gee, you're right, dude.
Banks are insured up to $250,000 per person, meaning no matter what, the government assures you that your money, up to $250K, is safe.
Hey, folks.
And here's the thing. I mean, one of the things that I do is I keep the majority of my wealth in my brokerage account. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great to keep like $10,000 in your checking account just so that way you could pay bills and pay off things and stuff like that, you know, whatever you got to pay. And you never know when you need it. So having $10,000 in the checking account, I think, is actually really smart. I think that should be the base level. That's my philosophy on it, and I always try to make sure I got at least the bare minimum of $10,000 in the checking. I think that's the smartest thing that one can do.
Imagine you borrow $1,000. You have to pay back $1,280. Why? Because of interest. Interest is money's way of charging rent to exist in someone else's hands. When you borrow, interest is the price tag for using someone else's cash.
And this is one of the reasons why I love dividend stocks, even though technically with dividend stocks, you're basically buying ownership. Whenever you're buying stocks, you're technically you're purchasing ownership, which I believe ownership is, I think it's more important to be an owner than a lender. Now, granted, it's great to lend, and you can lend money in different ways. You can purchase bonds, which honestly, when you purchase bonds, depending on the interest rate, there's some advantage there because as a bond purchaser, you are technically buying you're buying a promise that not only is the bond issuer going to pay you back the principal, they're going to pay you interest along with the principal. So you're going to get paid one way or another. So I don't mind bonds. The only problem with bonds that I have is that the principal never grows, and the interest doesn't always keep up with inflation on a yearly basis. That's one of the big problems that I have. Frog Eat Frog says Ice Cream Man. Whoa, what did Ice Cream Man do? Frog Eat Frog, what the hell did Ice Cream Man do? What the hell did my boy do? He stole my shit? Dude, did Ice Cream Man actually give me a shout out, by the way? You know, it's funny. I really do hope that Ice Cream Man tries to copy me. If the Ice Cream Man guy tries to copy my shit, I'll be honored, to be honest. He did blue? Wait, did he put blue frosting on his face, Frog Eat Frog? Because I will tell you what, if the ice cream man put blue frosting on his face, that's freaking sick in a good way. I think it's badass. But here's the thing. I would rather be an owner. I would rather be an owner of various companies. It's why I have such a diverse portfolio, is because I want my hand in a lot of different pies. I want a piece of each of the pies. I want a little bit of everything off the menu. So my goal is to be an owner and not a lender. And my goal ultimately is to not be a borrower. If I have to be a borrower, the only time I'll be a borrower of money, of cash, is I take the borrowed money and I basically invest it. So a lot of the times I will use margin in some of my brokerage accounts just because honestly, I'd rather just have a really diversified portfolio. And if I have to borrow a little bit of cash, it doesn't bother me because I know that cash is worthless and that I would rather hold assets like stocks than hold cash. So sometimes borrowing cash to get appreciating assets can be a good thing as long as the interest rates are reasonable. Now, it's not financial advice, by the way. Oh shit, Frog Eat Frog says I spammed Real Garza. Now, hey, Frog Eat Frog, is this a recent stream? Is this a recent stream that my boy Ice Cream Man did? Because if it is a recent stream, then I am really curious to take a look at it. Like, I am very, very curious to react. Dude, Ice Cream Man is my boy, dude. That guy's like my long lost cousin or something, dude. Let's see. Ice Cream Man. Let me see. No, he did it. Oh my god.
Actually makes it to a roll.
Dude, he stole my shtick. I'm offended. Dude, no way. Okay, hold on. We'll get back to reacting to Finance YouTube, but no joke, Ice Cream Man stole my mojo, dude. He stole my shtick. No, is that frosting? Dude, no way. Ice Cream Man legitimately stole my shtick. What the F? I was the first person to, well, maybe, I'm pretty sure somebody before me even did the blue face. But if that's Pillsbury Doughboy, if that's Pillsbury frosting, I'm going to laugh my ass off. Let's see what his explanation is for doing blue.
Zelly.
This guy is terrible. This guy sucks so much. Oh, God. Seth Postal, man, I don't even know what to say anymore. He stole my shtick, dude. He stole it. God, this fucking hurts my soul. This is brain rot content. This is legitimately brain rot content. That's his impersonation of me. It's pretty accurate, to be honest.
What, Mustard? Okay, Lily. Hey guys, I hope you're doing great. I'm doing really good, and we're just messing around on the stream, to be honest with you. If you don't know what's going on, I'm just yelling out random stuff. I don't know. I like to turn it into a song. It's pretty normal, honestly.
I'm looking for Dog Eat Dog's chat. Hold on. Dog Eat Dog.
And that would help.
No, I mean Frog Eat Frog. Sorry.
There's some memes right there. Hey guys, everybody see
Frog Eat Frog, dude.
Robert, whoa. Woo! Hunter. I could probably. I stink like poo-poo.
Okay, that is Ice Cream Man in a nutshell. Damn, dude, he stole my blue, dude. He stole my blue. Did he say mustard? I think he did. And that is an accurate impersonation to me, by the way. I mean, what he's doing is completely, unfortunately, accurate. I wish it wasn't true, but it's true. 'Cause I want it all, nothing at all. Is this how we fall? Simple telephone call. You leave me here with nothing at all. Let's keep going.
When you lend or save, interest is the reward for being patient and boring. There are two main types. Simple interest is like, here's a flat fee, thanks for playing. Compound interest is, every dollar I gave you now has clones, and they also want rent. Let's say you owe 20% interest on a credit card. You miss a payment. Now your interest is earning interest. Soon, your
Yeah, here's the thing. This is one of the reasons why I hate high interest credit card debt. I honestly just don't like high interest debt to begin with. I'm totally fine with borrowing money on my brokerage account like Robinhood because the rates are actually pretty reasonable for margin. And one of the reasons I never get margin called is, one, I don't use all my margin at once because I think that's stupid. Two, I'm extremely diversified across all asset classes, so it's pretty tough for my portfolio to go to shit. I'm very diversified, man. I'm very proud of how diversified my portfolio is at the end of the day. I mean, it is extremely, extremely diversified, and at the same time, I'm consistently receiving dividends like every single day because I have a various collection of individual stocks and a various collection of exchange-traded funds. So I don't stick with just only one ETF. I have multiple ETFs in my portfolio, and I'm very proud of that. Is it a little bit scattered? Sure, but the beauty is I'm a long-term investor at the end of the day. Frog says, I bet he loves Bitcoin. I wouldn't be surprised if Seth Postal was a crypto shill. It wouldn't shock me, man.
$12 burrito turns into a $50 regret. On the flip side, investing at 7% annual compound interest, that's your money duplicating itself like a cheat code. $100 becomes $200.
And this is why I invest. You know, one of the reasons why I invest in index funds, index ETFs, is because it's simple. They go up, they appreciate in value over time, and a lot of the time it's keeping up with inflation or exceeding. It's usually exceeding inflation. But the point is, investing in productive assets, especially a very diverse pool of productive assets, is superior to everything else, in my opinion. I think it's superior to owning real estate. I would rather own stocks than real estate. I'm not kidding. I think that owning real estate is more of a liability, and I think that owning stocks is way less of a liability. If you're diversified across all asset classes too, like for instance gold, silver, and all that shit, that's another thing. I mean, having an all-weather portfolio means the world to me. So I'm consistently staying intelligent about how I invest, is what I'm saying.
Then $400.
That's the best thing you do.
Then one day you wake up and you're old, rich, and a little smug about it. This is why interest is the silent engine behind both wealth and debt. In loans, it's the slow burn that turns small mistakes into financial fire.
Absolutely. And this is one of the reasons why I invest like a maniac. Because my investments appreciate over time. That's the smartest thing you could do. Just invest.
In investments, it's the time bomb that turns small gains into massive wins. So what's the hack? If you're paying interest, kill it fast. If you're earning interest, let it sit, feed it, and give it time. Interest is either your worst enemy or your best unpaid employee. The choice is in who's...
Exactly. And this is one of the reasons why I love investing in stocks, because I'll give you an example. Dividends are paid out because of the profits that the company makes, right? And obviously the business itself doesn't pay all the profits in the form of a dividend. It chooses how much of the profits go back into the company itself or to the shareholder. Granted, dividends are not guaranteed to you, by the way. But one of the ways to make sure that you have a consistent income stream through dividends is to be diversified. So one of the reasons I own so many different real estate investment trusts is just in case 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them decide to stop paying their dividend, I have all these other real estate investment trusts that'll still pay me a dividend while they decide to temporarily cut theirs, right? So I love real estate investment trusts because, one, I get exposure to real estate, which is honestly always appreciating over time. Two, the cash flows from the leased out real estate that these companies hold is vastly superior to anything else.
Collecting it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel.
Not this dude again. This chud needs to stop showing up in my feed.
So you bought a bag of chips. Open it up, and it looks like it's already been half eaten. You check what you paid, 30% higher than last time. Then you realize you've just been hit by inflation.
Inflation is the. By the way, inflation is the silent killer of wealth. This is one of the reasons why I tell people the best thing you could do, honestly, is not save your money. Like, it's good to have like a certain amount of money in your checking account. Obviously, I think $10,000 should always be your baseline. But at the end of the day, like, you should also be you should also have a very, very vast portfolio of stocks, because my stocks pay for me to live in a lot of ways. So like if I fall upon hard times, I always have my dividends to fall back on. I always have something to fall back on. And this is one of the reasons why I got to emphasize to people, multiple streams of income is superior to one stream of income. Even if that, like, let's say you have one stream of income and like it's your job and you're getting paid $50,000 a year. And then let's say you have 3 or 4 streams of income, maybe 2 or 3 of them are passive and 1 or 2 of them are active, whatever ratio, right? I would rather have 3 or 4 streams of income than one stream of income, even if that one stream of income was a lot of money, right? Because you want to make sure that you have a fallback position. Not a lot of people have a fallback position in life. And what I mean by that is not everything is going to go your way. You got to make sure that you have multiple streams of income. And I mean that. One of the reasons why I'm so serious about dividends is because I actually get a good amount of dividends coming into my portfolio. Now, granted, I tend to just reinvest them into other individual stocks or other ETFs, and that tends to be my primary goal majority of the time. Thank you, everybody, for tapping the like button, though. The more likes we get, the better. Let's keep watching this stuff.
Inflation is what happens when money slowly gets less valuable over time. Not overnight, not with fireworks, just a slow erosion. Your $5 bill, still technically $5, but it buys less instant noodles.
Exactly, because here's the thing. People don't understand this about inflation sometimes. I tried to explain to my dad that saving money is stupid. Saving cash is stupid, I should say. Because I don't think he understands the concept of inflation. I told him, like, everything else around you gets more expensive. Your $5 is still $5, but the problem is the buying power of that $5 lessens more and more and more over time, because the dollar becomes worth less and less and less over time in its ability to buy. So let's say, like in this example, like let's say those instant noodles that are shown on the screen were only $5 10 years ago, right? Let's say you could buy, hold on, let me take that back. Let's say that you could buy one of those instant noodles for $2.50. Well, let me back that up. Essentially, you're going to get less. So, like, for instance, maybe you could have bought 2 of these instant noodle packets for $5 10 years ago. Now, you could only probably just get 1 instant noodle package with $5 because of inflation. So what I'm trying to say is your buying power becomes less and less in time, because all the products that you consume or need are going to keep going up and up and up in price. So one of the reasons it's so important to invest in inflation-proof assets like stocks and real estate and gold and silver is because they do protect you against inflationary forces. I hope that makes sense. Basically, holding cash for a long period of time is a lousy investment. Now, granted, it's good to have at least $10,000 in your checking account, but I think it's good to keep majority of your wealth, your net worth, in actual assets like stocks.
Less gas, and doesn't actually have as much value as it did before. So what actually causes it? Sometimes people just have too much money. Everyone's got cash, and they all want to spend it on the same stuff. Let's say 2,000 people
That sometimes happens, man. Absolutely, dude.
want this $500 TV, but the business only has 1,000 TVs for sale. So the
Yep. What happens is the demand goes up and the supply, and if the supply is lower, obviously everything's going to go up in price too. So this is why sometimes stimulus checks are not actually a good thing. Because if stimulus checks come out, everybody's going to want to start. Everybody who's a normal person, sadly, is a consumer, and they just want to buy big TVs. Which honestly, the only thing I have is a projector in my room, and I love that thing. That thing's amazing. I don't even watch a lot of TV, though, at the end of the day.
business goes, oh, everyone wants this TV? That'll be $800 now. Sometimes it's supply chains with hiccups or problems, making the cost of producing a good or service more expensive, meaning the cost of that good or service must rise. Or sometimes, just cause. Expectations can cause inflation. If people think prices are rising, they'll spend more now, driving prices up faster. It's a self-fulfilling economic prophecy. A little inflation is normal, even good. 2% a year? That's fine, predictable. But if it spikes, savings die, wages lag. The government tries to fight inflation when this occurs, by raising interest rates. When the government raises interest rates, people are paying more interest, or it's more expensive to get a loan, meaning they have less money to spend on things like TVs. This causes a reduction in the amount of spending, pretty much cooling off the economy. Recession.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Even during times, even during the best of times, I'm still investing. And I'll tell you this, though. During recessions or depressions, I am absolutely buying as many indices as I can. I'm buying the S&P 500. I'm buying the VT. I'm buying any indice I can during a market crash of any kind. Because the best thing you could do, in my opinion, and this is not financial advice, but the best thing you could do is buy when everything is cheap. I love buying stocks during times of mass pessimism. Right? Buying stocks during times of mass pessimism is so much fun. Like, I'm just shocked that more people don't do it. And I'm shocked that the world... here's the thing. CNBC and Fox Business are going to spook people. They're going to scare people into not investing, right?
A recession is when the economy decreases for at least 2 quarters or 6 months in simple terms. One day you're fine, you've got a job, bills are paid, you might even be planning a trip with the family, but suddenly there's layoffs, the stock markets...
Yeah, and here's the thing. Honestly, I don't think there is such a thing as job security anymore. I really don't believe that. You know, I thought my job was kind of secure because I was good at it, but it turns out, you know, if you got shitty management that's incompetent and they don't like you, they'll fire you. I'm very proud of how I got fired because I didn't get fired for incompetence. In fact, I actually had the best stats on the team majority of the time. But I got fired because I had a little bit of a disagreement. Not just a disagreement, to be honest. It was a matter of personality conflict. I'll make this brief. One of my leads at T-Tech, who gave me one-on-ones, treated me like such absolute shit during those one-on-ones that I honestly didn't even... I mean, I would still go into work, obviously, and I would still do what I had to do. But she was not nice to me, man. I don't know why she treated me like shit. Maybe she knew that the YouTube channel existed, and maybe she didn't like my politics. I have zero clue. But I never expressed any politics at work. I kept my mouth shut. I just wanted to do my job. But when she started acting like a piece of shit to me consistently, I started noticing a pattern of behavior from her. And then I started to realize, I was like, oh my God, I'm probably going to get eventually fired. And of course, I started planning a year ago that this was going to happen. Like 1 year ago, I planned for the fact that I'm probably going to get fired. You know? And honestly, it was the best thing to happen to me. Getting fired from that soulless job was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Because now I got my shit together. Like, I started preparing for this about a year ago. And, I just knew that it was just going to be a bad situation if I stayed at that company any longer. And and they said I was unprofessional, and their reason for it Their reason for saying that I was unprofessional was actually hilarious because they were accusing me of the things that they were doing. And that's a level of slander. That is slander. And I was pissed that they were slandering my name. Because, I was nothing but professional to these, and I didn't call them Karens, but now since I don't work for them anymore, what are they going to do? Fire me? The management team at T-Tech that I had to deal with were total frickin' Karens, the most Karen of Karens. By the way, Christian Medwig, if I was lazy, I would have got fired for poor performance. I got fired because of unprofessionalism, and to be honest, that's all they could get me for. And the sad part is the unprofessional part was actually made up. They made up the unprofessional part, and that's why I'm so pissed that T-Tech slandered my name. Don't slander my name like that. Because I know, and it's so funny because obviously, like for instance, if they tried to fire me for poor performance, my stats obviously show that I'm a high performer. So you can't really fire me for poor performance when the stats show clearly that I'm a high performer. So they had to go another route. Because here's what happened. I narked to HR about my lead because I felt like my lead was being a total piece of shit to me. And not just felt, I knew. Because I don't like being talked down to consistently. I did not like her. Like, I would listen to her, and then I started to realize that she's full of shit. And that I didn't want her to be my lead. I really didn't. Like, it's like even going into work felt like a chore because there was always something that she was nitpicking. Something. Like, and it was usually just like timeliness. But even then, I was still coming into work at the right time. Sometimes I would get back from lunch about a minute late. Granted, 1 or 2 minutes late. And then she would give me hell about it. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, I'm 2 minutes late from lunch, back from lunch. I'm sorry. It's like, cut me a little bit of slack. We have plenty of freaking coverage, right? And it's just, it's funny, man. Like, I don't know. But yeah, no, it sucks being fired for unprofessionalism when you know it's not true. And you know that, and that was the problem. And I want to say this, HR, never go to HR. HR is not your friend, ever. Even if your boss is being a total piece of shit to you, don't go to HR because the moment you go to HR, you become a target. Management starts targeting you. Management will target you to no end. And that is exactly what happened to me. Because the moment I went to HR, management was targeting the fuck out of me. My lead treated me even worse than she did before. My manager, because here's the thing, my manager above my lead wasn't actually doing anything about what Brittany was doing. Brittany was my lead, and then Becky was the person that's above her, above my lead. I had talked to my. By the way, and it's funny. It's not like I hadn't talked to Becky about this several times. It just got to a point where my lead was still treating me like shit even after I talked to Becky about it. And then I started to realize that Becky is a pushover and she doesn't actually, and she's also a shitty manager. So I decided, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to talk to HR. So I talked to HR, and that was the worst mistake I could have made, but also probably the best thing I could have done, because getting fired from that job was actually the best thing to happen to me. I usually, and I was sad for about a month. I'll admit I had spurts of depression because I thought maybe I am worthless, and those thoughts definitely peek through your mind. Absolutely. But yeah, no, T-Tech is a terrible company. I'm glad I don't work for them anymore. And I don't know. Dude, I was at that. By the way, I was at the company for 13 years. Ham doggo. I was at that company for 13 freaking years. Are you kidding me? I had a very good track record at that company. 13 years. Now, granted, I was originally with FCR, and then FCR got bought out by T-Tech, right? So I was with FCR for a very long time. T-Tech bought out FCR and merged FCR into T-Tech. T-Tech then put their shitty managers into FCR. And then I had to deal with those Karen-ass managers, those terrible Karens. And yeah, no, and by the way, normally I would admit if I'm at fault. I really would. I do believe maybe if I were to put some of the blame on myself, I think the thing that I think I shouldn't have done was talk to HR. Talking to HR was the worst move I could have ever made. The fact that I talked to HR immediately put a target on my back because honestly, T-Tech is ran like a fucking pirate ship. And so, yeah, I was with this company for 13 years. 13 years. I always had high performance. Why would I be at a company for 13 years and suddenly get fired? My performance wasn't slipping. My performance actually was just as good as it was before. The only problem was I had to deal with Karen managers. And when you have to deal with bad management, like I said, the worst mistake I could have made was going to HR, and going to HR is a bad idea. So I can't really recommend anything here. All I can talk about is from my personal experience. I kind of wish I didn't talk to HR because I wanted to keep doing the job. And I was only talking, and this is the funny part about this. If I was unprofessional, I would have done everything in my power to keep reaching out to Brittany, right? Because Brittany was my lead, and I could have just kept trying, But no, the whole thing was pretty messed up, man, and I'm just glad I don't work for that company anymore. It really was there are some companies that just suck, and it's one of those things that I'm glad I don't work for them anymore, man. I'm kind of relieved. But if you guys can, make sure you tap the like button. The more likes we get, the better. If you guys can, subscribe to the channel, like the stream, and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, no, I'm very happy. I'm very excited that I don't work for T-Tech anymore. And if you guys ever have to get a job and T-Tech is your only option somehow, I will say buyer beware. Buyer beware. And by the way, any company that has to do contracts with them, if T-Tech approaches you as a company and says that they want to do customer service for you, don't even give T-Tech the time of day. I'm serious. T-Tech is such a crummy company. And the reason I'm talking crap about T-Tech is because I had to work for that shitty company. T-Tech is a terrible company. And I mean that with every ounce of my being. Okay? Buyer, I'm serious. Employee beware. If you work for T-Tech, you are really screwing yourself, man. So, yeah, T-Tech's a terrible company. But, hey, guys, make sure you like the stream if you guys can. We're trying to get to 100 likes on this stream. We're trying to before we have to end it. So if we can get to 100 likes, that'll definitely help. So tap the like button. If you haven't already, tap the subscribe button as well. We need more subscribers on this channel. If we can really rack up the subscriber count, that'll help out. That'll help the channel in more ways than one, actually. So whatever you guys can do to help out, I really greatly appreciate it. Give me a moment. I'm going to have to probably take a pee here in a second. Yeah, actually, I'm definitely going to have to take a pee. All right, you guys, give me one moment. I got to take a whiz. Eric M says reapply for a job. Dude, honestly, their T-Tech's record keeping is probably so shitty that if I were to reapply, they wouldn't even realize that I had worked there before. Like, I could tell them, hey, I never worked for this company before. No, here's the thing, Christian Medwig, I don't know if you really were listening to what I was saying. So the reason it was so bad was originally I worked for FCR, which was called First Call Resolution. And what happened was T-Tech basically bought out the entirety of First Call Resolution. And then they eventually merged First Call Resolution into T-Tech. So for like about a good 11 years, I was working for FCR. And then for the last 2 years, I was essentially working for FCR, but merged into T-Tech. So what happened was FCR was great. When T-Tech was not involved with FCR, FCR was a fantastic company to work for. When the main problem was this. FCR was shit. No, sorry. T-Tech. I can't. FCR was amazing. FCR was a great company on its own. But what happened was, as what happens with all great companies, sometimes they get bought out by a really shitty conglomerate like T-Tech Holdings. And what happened was T-Tech Holdings bought FCR, merged FCR into T-Tech. So for the first 11 years, I was working for FCR, right? And then last 2 years, I was working for T-Tech. And it was bad because the more that T-Tech merged their culture and their shitty management into FCR's domain, the worse things got. So T-Tech really is by far one of the worst run companies I've ever seen. And I worked for them, by the way. I worked for this company. I know. The last 2 years of working for them was pretty shitty. It was not good. They ruin the contracts that they have with their clients. And when I say clients, I mean the companies that we outsource customer service for. I just don't think that they're a good company. And I don't think that T-Tech is worth it. If I'll tell you what, if I had a company and I required customer service for that specific company, I would not even bother. I would not give T-Tech the time of day. I would not be a client for that company. T-Tech is so shitty. And to any company, and I mean this, to any company that currently has a contract with T-Tech, I hope and I pray that you don't renew it because of just how bad that company is. And the reason I say all this stuff is because I know how bad T-Tech is as a company. They are so crappy. It's insane. Now, obviously, I'm not going to disclose the inner workings of everything that T-Tech does, but I know from experience, T-Tech sucks. And it's an opinion, obviously. It's one perspective. But I have every right to say that T-Tech is a terrible company because I had to live through their terrible management and I had to live through everything there. So yeah, they suck. It was a pretty recent firing. I got they fired me in September, and by the way, it was an unjust firing because I was professional even until the very end. I was the epitome of professionalism. That's what pissed me off about it. And they made my life was I was anxious to, for the first time in a long time, I was anxious to come into work. Seriously, I was extremely anxious to even come into work. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's keep reacting to this video. Liar. Dude, song words. I was with, by the way, I was with FCR for 11 years. We got absorbed by T-Tech 2 years ago. So I was with FCR/T-Tech for a grand total of 13 years. T-Tech is a highly incompetent company. Eric M is saying, have you consulted a lawyer? I'm honestly considering it. because T-Tech really was one of the worst experiences. I felt like I was discriminated against. I really did. Like, I felt like I was heavily discriminated against for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because I'm white. I don't know if it's because I'm part Mexican. I have no idea. It could have been racial discrimination. It could have been because they're not going to tell me why they were discriminating against me, because I was one of the highest performers on the team. I was easily targeted by my lead. My lead was targeting the shit out of me. It would really piss me off, man. Like, I am always, by the way, I am a permanent detractor for T-Tech now. You know how there's like brand ambassadors for certain companies? I am a brand detractor for T-Tech. But yeah, anytime I see something that tells people, it's like, hey, if you lose your job, it's like, I lost my job under false accusations. And when you lose your job under false accusations, you permanently hate that company forever. I will never, I repeat, never give T-Tech a good review. You want to know why? Because T-Tech is a shittily run company. Anyway, T-Tech sucks is all I'm trying to say.
Only going down.
Also, you guys, don't forget to tap the like button. We're trying to get to 100 likes, so please make sure that you please tap the like button, and if you can, also subscribe to the channel. The more subscribers we get, the better. We're currently sitting pretty at 7,064, I think. Yeah, we're currently sitting pretty at 7,064 subscribers. So if you press the like button and you press the subscribe button, it does help the channel grow in more ways than one. So please subscribe. So yeah, please subscribe and please like the channel. Please like the stream. Yeah, here's the thing, though. I mean, they were terrible to me. It was really a bad experience. And, dude, Songwords, I worked there for 13 years. If I was a terrible employee, they would have fired me for underperformance. Technically, and here's the thing. They couldn't fire me for underperformance because the stats prove that I was actually a high performer. So they couldn't fire me for poor performance. What they did was they fired me for unprofessionalism, which was a false accusation on their end, by the way. And I think I don't like to sue people, but here's the thing. If you're going to call me unprofessional and there's no proof that I was being unprofessional, that's messed up. That's insanely messed up. So T-Tech is a terrible company, poorly managed, run by a bunch of Karens, by the way, terrible Karens. I do not like T-Tech. I'm a permanent detractor. And by the way, if you guys want proof of what I'm saying, don't just take my word for it. Go on Reddit, look up T-Tech, type in TTEC, TTEC, T-Tech, and look them up. I am not the only one who has had major issues with this crappy company. T-Tech is a poorly run company, and I will always be very, very happy to call it a poorly run company. Here's the thing, though. I was actually, you know what's funny? I was never a dick to anybody is what I'm trying to say. By the way, I kept my head down, and I just did my work. I kept my head down and did my work. I purposely never really interacted with people. And if I did, I always gave people, positive compliments. Like I was actually the utmost professional while working there. And that's why I'm pissed. I was actually extremely professional while I was working there. And that's the worst part about this. So I was fired on a false claim. And that's why I'm upset. I mean, I still get upset thinking about it. I'm not going to lie, man. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I work for myself now. I honestly, look, I still like to look for employment in other places. I'm still trying to find employment, technically, but honestly, I have such a deep savings account. Because like I said, I knew that this was going to happen about a year ago, so I really prepared. I really prepared for this to happen. Songsword, what are you talking about, bro? But yeah, no, the thing is, I kept my head down. I did my work. My performance was great. The only person I had beef with, and by the way, I would still do my best to be polite to the person who was giving me my one-on-ones. The person who gave me my one-on-ones was a total bitch to me. She was constantly degrading. She talked down to me. She consistently used upspeak, which is fucking terrible. Yeah. And here's the thing. Incompetent people, and by the way, incompetent people, especially in the field of management, my incompetent managers didn't know what competence really looks like. I think that they're so used to having their ass kicked that anybody who even questions their judgment even slightly, and I didn't question their judgment that often, by the way. Here's the thing. I was just angry about how I was treated. It was very upsetting, man. When you're treated like absolute garbage on a day-to-day basis, dude, nobody likes that. Nobody likes that feeling. And you know what I did? I still went into work anyway. I still put in 8 hours a day of high-quality work. Seriously, high-quality work for 8 hours a day. So, yeah. So Surgeon says, my partner was fired for unprofessionalism and she was just doing her job. Exactly. Here's the thing. Incompetent managers make everything shitty. This is one of the reasons why I hate it when ass kissers who climb the corporate ladder. I hate it when incompetent people are put in positions of leadership. It's awful. Especially when they're incompetent and they're mean. Like, here's the thing. If you're incompetent, but you're trying your best to improve, I'll actually give you your flowers. And if you're trying to be a good person and actually have good faith, yeah. But no, she was awful. I can't believe I had to deal with her, man. She was immature, constantly degraded me for no reason, by the way. Like, really no reason. Like, it was just straight up degrading. No, Becky was terrible. How am I entitled? I worked for that company for 13 years. I came into work. I did my job. I never complained. I'm serious. I never complained. The only time I complained was when my team lead, Brittany, was literally basically verbally abusing me, making me feel like shit all the time for no reason. Oh yeah, she was white. Absolutely. Eric M says the best thing you could do is, oh dude, actually, you know what I should do? I should apply for T-Tech, but I should apply as a manager and just see what happens. Yeah, no, I'm complaining now, obviously. I had to complain about, I will say this, the only person I complained about originally, it's funny, I wasn't even complaining about the work. I enjoyed doing the work. Like, I actually came in, enjoyed doing the work. The person that I did not enjoy dealing with, who I thought was a petulant child, was Brittany. My lead, Brittany, was terrible. She was the worst lead I ever had to deal with. The worst. Nathan, I knew I was replaceable, by the way. I knew I was replaceable. Why do you think I work hard? I work hard because working, I guess, if you work hard and you work smart, it's not really job security, because if you have incompetent managers who require that you kiss their ass all the time, that's a problem. The problem is this. T-Tech has incompetent management. T-Tech is an incompetent company. I really do hope they go bankrupt because they suck. Yes, Brittany was white, yes. Leave Brittany alone. It's funny. But, no, T-Tech is a terrible company. And I am so glad I don't work for that garbage company anymore, is all I got to say. Because they are literally a trash company. One of the worst companies I've ever had to deal with. Like, even thinking about that company makes my blood boil. Straight up. Like, right now, as I'm speaking about it, they make my blood boil. And I have not felt that in a long time.
Laugh out loud.
So, I don't know. It was just one of those things that, like, I was so frustrated, man. I want to thank everybody who subscribed yesterday as well. I'm just showing them up on the screen, but
Laugh out loud.
I want to thank everybody who subscribes recently and subscribed today. We actually had more subscribers today, which is fantastic, by the way, fantabulous. Yeah, no, here's
Laugh
the
out
thing.
loud.
I don't think it's a gender thing. I've had plenty of supervisors. I've had plenty of team leads and plenty of supervisors who have been women. And there's nothing wrong. And by the way, I had really good ones.
Laugh out loud.
I had very good supervisors who are women. They've all been pretty much women. And they've all been really good. But what happens is it depends on the company culture. So when I was working for FCR.
Laugh out loud.
When I was working for FCR, they got bought out by the company T-Tech, right? So I only really had to deal with T-Tech for 2 years. And but FCR was managed very well. The company culture was great. We had managers who deserved to be in the positions they were in. Not only were they competent, they were kind, and they really wanted to see you improve. And they didn't belittle me. They were nice to me. And they really wanted to see me succeed. And then fast forward, FCR gets bought out by T-Tech. T-Tech injects their shitty management into FCR, right? And then as a result, I have to deal with incompetent, mean, not only incompetent, but mean and terrible. They were just bad. Like, here's the thing. When you work for a company for as long as I worked for them, my performance was always very high. I was always complimented for my professionalism, by the way, which is hilarious because they claim I'm unprofessional, which is untrue, by the way. It pissed me off, and I'm still considering taking some sort of action for that slander. I don't like being slandered like that. You know, if you want to call me stupid, that's okay. But if you want to call me unprofessional, that's some BS, dude. Especially when I know that at that job I was professional. And I made sure of it, by the way. I pride myself in my professionalism in the workplace. I pride myself in it. So, yeah, I'm highly considering taking legal action the more I think about it. But yeah, no, I think it just depends on company culture and the people that they hire to be managers. Because the people that T-Tech hired to be managers were terrible. They were awful, man. And also, you guys, don't forget to like the stream. If you guys can, tap the like button. Tap the subscribe button if you can, too. The more subscribers we get, the better. We're really trying to see how far we can get with our subscriber base. And yeah, I still think about T-Tech from time to time. And I try not to, but I also feel like I need to expose T-Tech for being a terrible company, right? You know how like Nick Shirley exposed the fraud that was happening in Minnesota? Well, I want to expose this company for being a terribly run company, and that they don't put the best of the best in managerial positions. They put these incompetent people into the manager positions. It's terrible, dude. They really are one of the worst companies. And I'm just happy I don't have to work for them anymore. Yeah, but either way, yeah, so I did work from home overall. You know, we still had to do like video meetings and stuff like that. When we did the one-on-ones, we did them from virtual. But yeah, it sucked. Whenever we did the one-on-ones in virtual, like I said, the management team still treated me like garbage. They were actually verbally abusive in these video meetings, and none of these video meetings were recorded, which sucked because I wish they would have been. I really wish they would have been recorded. But yeah, no, T-Tech was terrible. They made my life a living hell. I'm a permanent detractor of this company. Permanent detractor of this company, straight up. And I'm proud of it, man. I'm proud of how much I'm a detractor. Because they sucked. Hey, guys, don't forget to give a gift. Gifts actually help the channel grow. But if you guys can, tap the like button. The more likes we get, the better. The more subscribers we get, the better. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like the video, to like the stream. We really appreciate all your guys' we appreciate your guys' assistance in keeping us afloat. You know, one of the reasons this show keeps it going and keeps succeeding is because of you guys liking the stream and subscribing to the channel. So whatever you guys can do, tap the like button, tap the subscribe button. It really does help the channel grow in many ways. So let's keep on reacting to this video, though. I'm done talking about T-Tech.
In a recession, jobs vanish, companies cut costs, and everyone saves their money for necessities instead of buying things they don't need. Why does a recession happen? It could be a range of things. Could be.
I think the thing is, I think you should all. Here's the thing. I think the only time you should start spending money on fancier things is if your assets can pay for those fancy things. And even then, I just don't want to answer to anybody. So my goal is to just have the greatest portfolio of all time and have my portfolio consistently pay me. Because I firmly believe that income is the greatest outcome. Income is the greatest outcome.
High interest rates, making borrowing too expensive, could be a global crisis.
Oh, thank you, Eric M. I appreciate the jewels, my brony brother. Hell yeah. Eric M. sent a 100 for 20 jewels. I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
War, pandemic, rogue container ship, could just be the economic cycle doing what it does best. Boom, peak, bust, reset. Think of the economy as a party. In the boom phase, everyone's dancing, drinks are flowing. But eventually, the lights flicker, reality hits, someone checks their bank account, and suddenly, the DJ's playing sad lo-fi beats about corporate downsizing. Recessions aren't forever, they're resets, painful ones. Governments might lower interest rates, send out stimulus, or just hope people start buying overpriced coffee again. Eventually, spending returns, businesses rebuild, growth resumes, but not without scars. Credit scores. A credit score is a shadowy algorithm that knows your name, your past, and how many times you paid your credit card late in college. A 3-digit number that decides whether you...
That's crazy. You know, and this is the thing about credit scores. I'm not the biggest fan of credit scores, but I do understand that a bank needs to know if you're going to reliably pay them back before they give you a loan. And if you're kind of a red flag, they're going to have to make the interest rates a little bit higher if they're going to give you a loan. So one of the reasons I keep my credit score up is not because... Honestly, I keep my credit score up because if you have a higher credit score, you technically can get better car insurance, at least when it comes to the monthly payments. So I consistently make sure that my credit cards are all paid off. I do have one credit card that I use that has 0% interest for 2 years that I just pay the minimum balance on, and it has only $1,000 spending limit anyway. So either way, that's the way I do it, at least.
Get a house, a car, or a soul-crushing 27% interest rate on your new TV. This number isn't about wealth. It's about trust. Lenders want to know, if I give this...
They want to know if they give you money, and it makes sense. Credit scores actually do make sense to me. I kind of hate them, but I kind of understand why they exist. Because if I'm a bank and I'm lending money to a person who basically has a history of never paying back anything that they borrow... I'm either not going to give them money, or if I do give them money, it's going to be at a higher interest rate because I don't trust them.
This person money, will they actually pay me back? The score has a range from 300 to 850. Below 580, you're a walking red flag. Over 750?
And by the way, you know, one of my secrets is I have 10 credit cards, but I only use 3 of them. And then for the credit cards that I do use, I pay off the balance every 2 weeks. That's my secret to a high credit score. Everybody says that you need to hold a balance, and I say that's fucking stupid and bullshit. That's the biggest myth about credit is you need to hold a balance. No, you don't. As long as you make your payments on time every time, for instance, I pretty much at this point, even though I only have 3 credit cards in my wallet at all times. Hold on. Okay, let's keep going.
You're sparkling with adult credibility. Most people? Stuck somewhere between 640 and 790. How is a credit score calculated? Payment history. Do you pay on time? This is the big one. Credit utilization. How much credit are you using versus how much you could?
Hold on. Give me a second. I gotta go back.
I was
Backwards.
this close to signing the HELOC paperwork. I dug deeper.
Where were we at? Inflation, prices going up, recessions, credit scores. I think that's where we're at. Credit scores. Okay. So, just to answer this question real quick. So, Vacation Time 24/7 says, holy crap, 10 credit cards. I got 2. Haven't used them in forever. They sent me a letter saying if I don't use one, they'd cancel it. So I bought gas and paid it off. Exactly. So, Vacation Time, to elaborate on that point. So what I do, I have 10 credit cards. I put 7 of them in a safe. However, to make sure they don't go inactive, I save the credit cards to my Google Wallet. So if I ever get a notice from any of the banks via email or via a letter saying that I need to make a purchase or use it in some way before it becomes inactive, what I do is, and by the way, I have like a 700. I think my credit score last time I checked is like 770 or something, but or 7. I think it's 780. I'll have to double check it. I think it's 780 actually. But one of the big things for me is I only use 3 of the credit cards. I pay off each of the credit cards that I use every 2 weeks. And I make sure that I have the app for every single credit card I have, even the credit cards I don't use, by the way. I make sure I have the app for each of those. And that's about it. That's about the extent of what I do. So it's really the smartest thing I can do is just keep using my... And by the way, when I use my credit cards, I use them like a debit card. I use my credit cards like debit cards. And that's about the extent of it. I only use credit cards if I have the money to back up the usage of the card. So, and since I pay off my credit cards every 2 weeks, I'm able to benefit from the cashback rewards. For example, whenever I use my Robinhood Gold credit card, I'm consistently getting 3% cash back on every single purchase I make. I want you to hear that again. I get 3% cash back for every single purchase I make with that credit card. And because I pay off my cards consistently, I pay it off every 2 weeks. I have no interest that I have to pay, and I consistently get 3% cash back every single freaking time. So in the long run, I benefit from credit cards because I use my credit cards like they're a debit card, and I pay them off every 2 weeks because I believe it's very important not to hold credit card debt and not to forget about any money that you spend with a credit card. Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the irony about credit cards is that the people who should actually use credit cards are actually people who are well off, and the people who shouldn't use credit cards are people who are broke. In my opinion, I don't think poor people should not use credit cards. I think if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're really shitty with your money, you should not be using a credit card. You can have a credit card. Just put it in a safe and don't use it for a little bit until you become more financially literate. Because here's the thing. I can afford to use my credit card because I don't hold a balance because I don't need to. I use a credit card not because I need it, but because I want the cashback rewards that are granted to me for using it. I don't use credit cards the way normal people use credit cards. Normal people, which I believe normal is stupid, so stupid people hold balances on their credit card and are idiots for doing it. Smart people buy things with their cashback rewards credit cards so they can get a little bit of a kickback for the things that they do have to buy, like groceries and things, and then they pay off the entirety of their card either every 2 weeks or every month. I mean, I like to be on the safe side, and I just like to pay it off every 2 weeks just to be on the safe side. Yeah. And it's sincerely the smartest thing you can do because check it out, man. Every time I go to the grocery store, every time I go to the Dollar Tree, every time I go to Grocery Outlet, I'm getting 3% cash back on every single thing I purchase. And then, yeah, it's the smartest thing I can do. And I think the thing is, I think if you're poor, I don't think you should have a credit card. And if you do have a credit card, you don't have to cut it up. Because you're not going to be poor forever. You're not going to be poor forever, but you got to get your money habits right. The problem is nobody has their money habits right. It really sucks. And that's one of the reasons why people are in debt, is because they're stupid with money. They're stupid with cash. They're idiots. But if you guys can, make sure you tap the subscribe button and tap the like button. We're trying to get more subscribers on the channel. So just the simple act of subscribing to the channel really means a lot to me, you guys. And I really appreciate it, man. Okay, so let me take a look here.
Mix. Cards, loans, mortgages. Variety helps. New credit. Too many recent applications? All of these things are the ways it is calculated. But to actually increase your score, you have to make the required payments on each of your loans before you...
I will say that I don't know everything about credit scores and how they're calculated, to be honest. I really don't. I don't think most people know how credit scores are calculated. But I will say, though, the one thing that has helped me increase my credit score is just, honestly, having credit cards actually does help. I have a ton of credit cards, and my borrowing limit, grand total, is very, very high. But my utilization rate, my grand total utilization rate falls between 0 to 0.5% because, like I said, I pay off every single credit card I use. I treat it like a debit card. I'm going to pay it off every 2 weeks because I make sure that I have the money to back up the purchases that I make with the credit card. If you're using the credit card like a loan from the bank, you're an idiot. If you're using your credit card like a debit card, you're a smart person. But I swear to God, if you hold a balance on a credit card that has high interest on it, like 20%, 30%, 40%, etc., you're an effing moron, and you need to get some financial literacy under your belt. And one of the reasons I have a high credit score is not because I've done anything fancy. It's because I just pay off everything. The only real debt that I have is an auto loan. And I actually have the money in my brokerage and in my checking account to actually pay off the entirety of the loan at any time. One of the reasons I choose not to, though, is because I would rather use the money in my brokerage to put it towards actual things that appreciate and actually make money off of that money that I don't have to spend to pay off the entirety of the loan, right? So one of the reasons is my loan will eventually get paid off by the gains that I've gotten from swing trading, for example. So paying off the loan in its entirety for like a car loan, for example, is not actually a good idea. You're better off just taking the excess money that you have and investing it in actual investments like stocks. So that way you can inflation-proof everything.
You enter the late period. If you enter the late period, your score decreases. Your credit score is like a pet dog. Ignore it, and it poops all over your life. Take care of it, and someday it might help you buy a house. It's not about being good with money. It's about looking good to lenders.
Sadly, that's true. If a lender sees that you make payments on time and that you don't have to borrow money, they're actually going to think, wow, this guy actually doesn't really need us, but he's using us anyway.
can have zero debt and still have a trash score if you don't have a credit history. So yes, the game is rigged. But if you learn the rules, you can rig it back.
That's the sound of
And yeah, I've been able to rig the game too. I've been able to rig it back because all I do, I have my credit cards, and I only use them like I would use them like I would use a debit
Or
card. straight
money.
up.
The weird part about currency
But one of my big things is this: don't focus on your credit score. Just focus on how you can actually earn money. And when I say earn money, I mean even because earning implies working for it. It's good to work for money, but it's also good to have. It's good to have assets that pay you to exist. That's why do you think I love dividend stocks so much? Because I get paid to exist by owning dividend stocks, and those dividends increase over time as well. So not only that, I get an increase, which helps me pay for other things that I need to pay for.
and or money is that it's actually not real. Humans have developed money in order to make the world better. Money makes trading easier, makes it easier.
So one of the things I could say is save your assets, not your cash. Smartest thing you could do. One of the battle cries of this channel is save your assets, not your cash. I'm going to repeat that. Save your assets, not your cash. If you have a very diversified stock portfolio, you know what you got to do with that, right? You got to save it. Don't sell. I mean, look, if you're swing trading 20% of the portfolio and you're just trying to get profit off of the volatility on 20% of it, go for it. Swing trade away. But otherwise, there's really no need to swing trade majority of the time. There's no need to sell your entire portfolio is what I'm trying to get at. I think that's the smartest thing. You don't have to sell your whole portfolio, man. You don't have to do that. Some people think you need to, and I'm like, what are you talking about, brother? My brony brother. But yeah, make sure you guys tap the like button. Make sure you tap the subscribe button as well. The more subscribers we have, the better. We're trying to reach... Currently, we're sitting pretty at 7,064 subs. I still can't believe we reached 7,000 subscribers, though. That really blows my mind. But if you guys can, make sure that you tap the subscribe button, tap the like button. It does help the channel grow in more ways than one.
To build systems and
going,
to
man.
organize society. In saying that, there is no more legitimacy between a dollar bill and a Bitcoin. People believe a dollar bill has more legitimacy. And maybe it...
Hey, honey. But anyway, I'll catch you guys later, though. I'm gonna... Okay. All right. But overall with these types of videos, I mean, the great thing about it is it kind of teaches you some interesting, like, basic concepts that you need to know, which is kind of nice overall. So let me just we'll finish the video and we'll see what we could do here. See what we could do. Let's see.
does, for now, but only because people believe it does. The same can be said for a dollar bill and a stick. The only reason a dollar bill can buy something, and a stick cannot, is the fact that we as a society have agreed that a dollar bill is worth...
Exactly, and this is the thing about currencies, is that a lot of currencies have perceptual value, but they don't have intrinsic value. So, for example, gold actually has intrinsic value through how it could be utilized. It has value overall. It's not just a perception of value, it's like it's a reality of value. And I believe there is a reality of value versus the perception of value. Perception is not always reality. So just because everybody thinks dollars are worth something doesn't mean it is. Just because people think like Labubus are worth something doesn't mean it actually is. You have to kind of take a look at the product that you're investing in and ask yourself, why is this valuable? You know, instead of asking, why does everybody... So instead of saying, like, for example, let's take a look at Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's a great example of this. So with Bitcoin itself, Bitcoin's a fabulous example of this phenomenon because people... Obviously, if you take a look at Bitcoin as a pure product, it's completely worthless. There's nothing intrinsically valuable about Bitcoin at all. And that's kind of the point I want to make, is that just because the market says that Bitcoin is worth almost $100,000 per Bitcoin doesn't mean that Bitcoin is actually worth that amount. It means that the perceived value of Bitcoin based on what the market is saying is $100,000. But the reality of what Bitcoin is worth is actually zero, because it's just a string of data that exists within a public ledger. And that's the problem. So things like Bitcoin are total scams, is what I'm trying to say. And you got to look at things as a pure product. You got to ask yourself, why is this valuable? Why is this actually valuable in reality? Not because, like with collectibles are a great example of perceptual value over actual value. Most things that are collectibles are only collectibles just because they're rare, right? Maybe it's like you got a first edition Charizard, for example. And, everybody loves Pokemon, but like at the end of the day, that first edition Charizard, if you look at it as a pure product, it's really not worth anything. It's just a piece of cardboard. But in the collectible markets, it's really more about perception of value. And honestly, the collectible industry is all about nostalgia. So it just depends on how high nostalgia is in society, really. What I'm getting at is this. Try to look at the pure value of what something is and not what the perceived value is. Just because the market tells you that Bitcoin's $100,000 doesn't mean it actually is what I'm trying to get at.
Something, while a stick is not. So how does money actually work? Well, the government prints it, the central banks regulate it, and everyday people trade it in exchange for goods and or services. The reason the banks have to regulate it is because if the government prints too much, then inflation kicks in, and everyone's money becomes monopoly money. If the banks make it so there is too little money, no one can afford to live. Currency, or money, is a social construct built on a shared belief and trust.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Sam here.
Oh, not this guy again. I don't know why this guy keeps popping up in my ads. I don't understand. He's talking about like Node, I think, which is a programming thing, like Node JavaScript or something, but
is now, and the best way to combat inflation, so your money doesn't become less valuable, is investing. Investing is what happens when your money stops sitting around and starts working for you.
And here's the thing, investing is brilliant because if you're investing like in actual productive assets like stocks, you don't really have to, especially if you're really diversified, you don't actually have to worry about your wealth totally disappearing, right? Now, granted, there's always going to be if your entire portfolio is equities based, like let's say you have nothing but the entire U.S. stock market and the entire international market to the nth degree through various ETFs or whatever. Even a diversified equities portfolio is going to have pullback, right? So, for example, even the VT, the Vanguard Total World Index, has had violent swings in the past. The entire global market can be shook by whatever events happen, black swan events, things like that. But it is up to you to be an intelligent investor and to realize that if an entire indice is going down, it's a good time to buy the entire indice, right? So if I buy the entirety of the VT, I'm being the smart man in the room. You know what I mean? So buying an entire indice like the Vanguard Total World Index on the dip is actually one of the smartest things that most people could do. And I like to try to encourage that because I think it really is one of the smartest. It's one of the smartest things that I've done. One of the reasons why I'm able to make money swing trading is not because I'm like timing the market well. I'm reacting to what the market is doing and playing along with it to the best of my ability. So, for example, if the Vanguard Total World Index goes down 0.5% or 0.6% in a day, I'm going to buy one share of VT. If it goes down again the next day, I'm going to buy another share of VT. And then what happens is eventually markets tend to go back up because an entire index that has several different companies, which in this instance VT has 10,000 different companies in it, it'll go back up. It'll do its thing.
Instead of trading your time for money, you're trading money for more money. The problem is there is risk involved. What can you actually buy? Stocks. Tiny ownership slices of companies.
Yeah, and stocks are one of the best because stocks are easy to get into and out of. Now, granted, I don't think you should ever get out of stocks. I think time in the market is better than timing the market. That's like one of my favorite sayings. So once again, I'm going to say this again. Time in the market is better than timing the market. Because if you're trying to time the market, you're kind of an idiot. What I do when I swing trade, I'm not trying to time the market by any means. I'm just trying to get in and get out at a profit. I'm trying to play with the volatility that currently exists is really the goal.
If the company grows, your slice becomes more valuable. Bonds. Basically, you loan money to a government or company, and they pay you back with interest. Funds. Collections of stocks and bonds so you don't have to play financial games one by one. Real estate. Property you hope.
One moment, you guys. Okay, so we'll finish off the rest of this video, though, real quick.
Hope someone else pays to live in
See.
forever. Of course, there are other things, but they are considered the main ones.
Yeah, so here's the thing. So it's interesting how it kind of goes over this. So it says stocks, bonds, funds, real estate. Personally, I don't like dealing with real estate, so the best alternative, if you guys want an alternative to real estate, not financial advice by any means, but a good alternative to actual owning real estate, and if you want a diversified portfolio of real estate by all technicality, you could purchase real estate investment trusts, which are honestly companies that own real estate and lease out that real estate. So I will say a real estate investment trust is a great alternative to owning actual real estate yourself without all the headaches. Because the company that owns this real estate, they're experts in what they do. So I would rather have an expert do all the stuff that they need to do, because I'm obviously not a real estate expert, but if I want to get exposed to real estate, sometimes owning real estate investment trusts can be one of the better ways to do it. Then of course you got like index funds, which basically usually hold stocks. Sometimes index funds can index bonds, they can index commodities, that sort of thing. Bonds, I'm not a fan of bonds only because bonds are not inflation proof, and I don't have a lot of faith in the dollar. So if it's not inflation proof, then I kind of don't want any part of it. Granted, I still have bonds in my portfolio because I do like having the guaranteed yield of having the bonds. So I do keep bonds in my portfolio, but it only takes up like 5% of my portfolio. It's a very little part of my portfolio. And then of course stocks. Real estate investment trusts, like I said, are a form of stocks, by the way, but it's the closest thing that I have to real estate. So, but yeah, having a diversified portfolio of stocks can at least help you sleep at night, knowing that your wealth is at least preserved. And granted, there's ups and downs in volatility and pricing in the market. Just remember, the market's always going to be bipolar. It doesn't mean that you have to be bipolar with it. The best thing you could do is respond to what the market does. If everybody's selling their stocks, maybe it's a good time to buy. And if everybody's buying stocks and pushing up the price, maybe it's a good time to sell. That's if you're a swing trader or a day trader. Granted, I swing trade index funds, 20 to 30% of my portfolio is just swing trading these bad boys. And then the rest of it, though, very simple. The rest of what I have is just a portfolio where I hold every single asset that I have. I just hold it because remember what I said, time in the market matters. So being in the market, just having a very diversified portfolio of stocks really does matter in the long run. It's a good way to not only preserve your wealth, but allow your wealth to appreciate over time. And then, like I said, if you want a little bit of extra income for your portfolio, there's no shame in swing trading 20 to 30% of that portfolio. And the best way to do it, the most orderly way to do it in my experience, not financial advice, by the way, but the most orderly way that I've been able to do it is I assign 3 or 4 ETFs to be designated as the ETFs that I swing trade. And then if I know what ETFs I'm swing trading, I'll know what ETFs and individual stocks I'm holding forever for the rest of my life, right? I hope that makes sense.
Investing isn't about being lucky. It's about being early, diversified, and patient. Most wealthy people didn't win the lottery. They just gave compound growth 30 years to do its thing. And yes, investing comes with risk. Markets go up, markets go down. But the real danger isn't losing money. It's never investing and watching inflation quietly steal your future. Value. This one is more complex, but everyone should understand it. Imagine you pick up a rock. It's just a rock. Now imagine that rock is shiny and yellow. That's gold. It's rarer than an average rock, so there's a higher value placed on it. Gold is not actually worth more than the average rock. It's just worth more to humans because we place a higher value on it.
Well, and gold actually has utility, though. You know what I mean? Like, because while gold is rare, and some of the rarity does play into gold's price in its market value because of supply and demand and stuff like that. But gold actually has some good real-world utility. Not only is it used in jewelry, it is also used in certain electronics, believe it or not. Like certain, even I think even every computer probably has a little bit of gold in it. Like, I don't know where it would be, but gold is expensive. So a lot of the times most companies will use other metals besides gold. Gold's actually a pretty decent conductor, though. I'm not saying it's a superior conductor to other metals, but it's a decent one. It's pretty malleable. I don't know. I like gold. I think gold is fabulous.
Understanding this is what allows people to become rich. If you provide a lot of value, you will earn a lot of money. Steve Jobs created the iPhone you're most likely watching this on right now. He created something with a large amount of value, so millions of people gave him thousands of dollars for that bit of value. It's the same reason that doctors and lawyers earn so much money. The value they provide is large, and people are willing to pay a large amount of money for their service. Value is the same reason Gucci or Louis Vuitton can sell the same handbag as Target, but charge 100 times the price. People perceive it as more valuable, so it is. If you can figure out how to create value...
I will say, if you guys want to know the biggest poison, perceived value is a very big poison. I think sometimes people got to look outside themselves. Like, you may think it's valuable because everybody says it is, but honestly, I think understanding if something is actually valuable, I believe, is more important. Like, is this really valuable? And not because everybody says it is, but what does this thing actually do? Like, what is the underlying function of this thing that I consider valuable? And I think once you get to the root cause and space out everybody else's perception of the thing, you can find out if it's really worth having. But value to you, obviously, for example, the computer that I'm using to do this live stream, it's valuable to me in so many ways. But to somebody else who, is only using their computer to check email, a computer like mine is probably unnecessary. My computer's purposely, I don't know the proper word, but it's better than most computers, sure. So most people can just use a basic laptop if they're just going to check their email. So my computer would actually have no value to some people, right? But to me, this computer is very valuable because of what it can do and what I can use it for. So, I mean, there is a level of perceptual value in any consumable product too. It just depends. I mean, it's a little tricky. But I think the best thing you can ask yourself is what is the return on investment? And so far, this computer, by the way, has been an incredible return on investment. Like, I've been able to do so many things with this computer to allow my life to be more profitable. So, yeah.
Even if it's not real value, you can make a lot of money. Time. Time is the most valuable asset in the world.
But I will say this, though, since we're pretty much done with this video, at least reacting to it, I do need to check on the chili that I have on the burner. I have it on a very low setting, so it's pretty good. But I will catch you all later, and thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'll be doing a live stream in a little bit, probably in a couple hours. I think I'll probably end up taking a walk somewhere just so I can kind of stretch my legs, refresh my mind, make sure that I'm on the right path, trying to look up a few things. But I'll catch you all later. I want to thank you guys again for even taking the time to watch me react to boring finance videos and giving my commentary. Thank you, Y197319, for all the comments. I appreciate it. Sorry I didn't get to those.
Anyway, you guys rock. I want to thank you guys again.